Have you ever looked back at him like, I was acting like a little
Sometimes.
bitch. I was acting like a little bitch on this.
Yeah, sometimes.
This one, I was very aggressive. You know, like when you go back, you're like,
No,
do some push-ups.
I usually only have one thought when I look back at writing I wrote. I just look back and like, that was whack though. But I see where I was going. You know what I mean? Training though, I don't really have many thoughts about it because I don't have like film like that to look at it. You know what I'm saying? I don't have film to look at.
Yeah, that one film. What was that, like 2012 or something like that you?
That was 2007.
2007.
Yeah.
Wow. So what do you think about that?
That's
when
almost
you look
20
at that?
years ago.
You know how Infinite Mind was there. He's the one that gives me a hug at the end of that video.
Okay.
So he knows. Knowledge Eternal was there, standing up. DJ Wise was DJing there. I was so tired at the end of that shit. I had nothing left. And that was only like 2 minutes of intense 180 moves. Like anything you could think of, creativity. There's no way now that I would be that tired. Although that I wouldn't be doing flips though. And that's not because I can't do them. I stopped doing them. So now I can't do them because I'm not going to use that. If when shit pops off, I'm not going to flip. I would use all my energy like that. So it's not really a viable thing for me. I'm not.
You were showing off more at that time.
Right, yeah. Because we used to do shit in movies, though. That's how we learn moves, though. We do, like, we saw a movie and we do this shit.
You know what? We turned into Rocky. You ever see how Rocky, when he progressed, he's like, speed, we ain't got. Movement, all we got is brute power. And strength. That's all we're going to hit him with.
I started doing martial arts at 20, right before I turned 25. So I didn't have the flexibility like other people. Like, you know what I mean? So even though people see me kick really high, I don't know how I'm able to do that.
So you started at 25?
Started at 25. I never did nothing like that. I never did anything formal, boxing, nothing. It just, nothing.
So when did you say, I want to do that?
No, it was the guards because we were cleaning out the bottom. We were throwing garbage bags, and the garbage bags was big, and I'm all little. Okay. And they were like, "Yo, as soon as you in shape, you should train with us and shit." I said, "Train? Do what? Like, you know, kung fu and shit." I said, "I'm not doing all that."
You know how if Meg always hits you with the, "Hey, when was the first time?" You
right, yeah.
How smooth.
Yeah.
Oh, when was the first time?
Yeah.
What led you to this knowledge yourself? Right? He gets real, almost like a little bit of Don Cornelius, but very like when was the first time?
Yeah.
And it's almost like
he got the Cornelius.
Once you know it, if he get real deep on you, it's like, oh, here we go. But it's like it applies to everything though.
Yeah.
Like when the first time it was like, man, I like this camera. Like I likes it. I want to. This is who I am.
God, I'm telling you, people talk about like it's been a blessing to share with so many people, but the same thing. If people think that there are worthy things I've given students all these years, I've learned so many things here. Like it's so many disciplines. You know, I learned kung fu here. I learned the knowledge of self here. I learned how to write. I learned how to write to protect this building here, because that's what we were doing when we was writing. And we was writing bylaws and we was doing things like that. Like this is where I learned all that shit. You know what I mean? Activism for the community and things like that. I learned all that here, really. You know? So that's, you know, Seagung Bobby Whitaker was, you know, is, you know, the Seagung for so many of us gods. They brought me to him. And just like the gods, though, because he's an honorary 5% of me, he was like, listen, if you train hard, I'll teach you every time. Just work hard. That's what he had to tell me. It's free.
Hey,
you gonna teach me? Yeah, I was like, okay. So that was it. You know, he saw different styles out of me. He saw all these things, and you know, he developed it. You know what I mean?
And he was a paraplegic, right? Or was it?
He basically, you know, was shot in the head and survived it. So it basically caused a stroke that basically paralyzed half of his body. So he walks with a limp. But when he moves, the whole thing feels like iron though. The whole body. You know, you train with him and stuff, and you hit him, and it just feels like.
It's like do it again.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's many a time where he'd have me kick him and stuff, and it wasn't good enough, and I'd be kicking with everything I had, and he's like, nah, it's not good enough. You know what I mean? Like he made out of steel, but he knew everything. He was coherent. He doesn't always say everything conventionally, but because he's so Seagung Bobby is so well-rounded in like the ancient Buddhist text. These were the things that I was studying also, because I was so into Kung Fu and the Chinese culture and all these things, that when he would speak, I would know the cadence and the style of teaching that he was giving me, even if it was fragmented in his speech, you know. So to me, he taught me really easily, and he would be able to. It's also a style that I learned from him to teach in the classroom, because I was teaching once a week, and if I made sure that if I taught people things once a week and I didn't see them until next week, even though they should be contacting me. That if I taught him if he taught us something, he would tell me, you don't have to come back until 2 weeks. He would tell me that. You don't have to come back until 2 weeks. But then that doesn't feel better. Like, oh, I got 2 weeks off, because now it's like, you come back 2 weeks, so the shit better be good and not all wrong. You know? And if we came back weekly, we could try things like, yo, Bobby, I saw this in the movie. And then he would show us why it was right, or things like that, like what was wrong with it, or what to do better, you know?
Is that more like an observation period?
Oh yeah.
Like practice, study, work on this?
A lot of it was, because
come back in 2 weeks?
We was training with him at Mount Morris Park. That's why the tradition was like with the guns. That's where we was going up to Mount Morris Park, you know what I mean? And when we was training there, we was all there from like 12 to 7 at night, every Saturday.
Sun up to sundown.
Yeah. And that shit gets hot up there. There's where we was training, there's no shade, nothing. And at the time, this is something I cannot do now. I have battered my hands too much on the dummy and Wing Chun. But I was doing finger push-ups in waves, like with 2 fingers.
Wow.
Axe Infinite Mind and all of them. I could do wave push-ups like that on my 2 fingers.
Wow.
You know what I mean? But and we was doing that on the heat in the 90-degree day and everything. You know? Like, we would try things like this. We would take it in.
Super strength.
But
If Mega did this.